because I've gotten some questions on these things, and I think I need to answer them to help clear up things, especially since, as everybody knows, I'm into health and promoting how the body works. So one of the questions that I got tonight was somebody asked me, and I guess for TikTok's sake, I'm not going to name what it is, but somebody said, "Hey, I'm drinking such and such from TikTok because it's gone viral and it helps me to drink my water and I love it. And what do you think?" And I was like, ooh. So let me give you the skinny on the artificial sweeteners. And what I'm really going to do is give you the science. And you can look these up. You can look it up on FDA, you can look it up on the cancer research, you can look it up on the American Heart Association, but what I would do also is go to PubMed or National Institute of Health, because there you can find a lot of good things. So with sweeteners, back in the day we had things like aspartame, NutraSweet, some of those, and saccharin, and they got some really bad names for a reason. And the reason the industry comes out with this, like the artificial sweeteners, is because, people go on this craze of, I need an artificial sweetener, not sugar. Sugar is sucrose, by the way. And by the way, for those of you who get so upset about high fructose corn syrup, it's basically the same chemical formula as your white table sugar, which is sucrose. So we're talking like 45% of fructose and 55% of glucose. Same thing, guys. So it's about 5% off the formula. And one obviously comes from corn, and the other one obviously came from sugarcane. And the sole reason we came out with high fructose corn syrup was because we have destroyed a lot of the sugarcane fields. We no longer really grow it. It's hard to get. And the industry, the whole food industry, because we have sugar in everything, did not want to go with artificial sweeteners because there's a good group of population of people who don't like artificial sweeteners, right? And so they needed to come up with something that was more economical so they could put money in their pockets. It's a marketing thing. That's what it really is. It's all about the money in their pockets, right? And so they're a business trying to make money. And so when they came out with, and I think I gave you this example before, when you drink a can of Coke, when you used to drink it back in the past, of Coca-Cola with real sugar in it, you could take, I used to do a science experiment in the classroom. I had an aquarium of water, right? And I would be talking to my students about density. And so trying to get them to get the idea of things that are more dense or heavier. So I would take a can of Coke and a can of Diet Coke, and I would put them in the aquarium, and the can of Coke would sink to the bottom. And then we would talk about why. And it was because a can of Coke used to have 16 teaspoons of sugar in it. And that's why it would sink. And of course, the artificial sweetener one would float because it just had a little bit of that artificial sweetener. Well, interestingly enough, I was demonstrating this one day, and this would have been a few years ago. I grabbed the can of Coke, grabbed the Diet Coke, put it in the aquarium, and they both float. And I was like, what? And then I realized that they had used high fructose corn syrup. And we now use it in everything to sweeten. So, but again, I'm Lauren Ebeck. I teach anatomy and physiology. I teach how the body works. And I'm here today to talk to you about those lovely, wonderful sweeteners. So, because I got asked about that. All right, so there are sweeteners such as one of the big and worst culprits, and you can look this up yourself. Again, I'm giving you the science research. TikTok, this is science research. Okay, is the sucralose or the Splenda. This tends to be in a lot of coffee drinks. It tends to be in a lot of syrups. That's all I'll say there. The biggest problem with it is that it can cause insulin resistance, diabetes. It kills off your good gut bacteria by half. By half, folks. It promotes an inflammatory gut and bloat. And some studies have linked it to blood cancers as well as damage to DNA. Again, go to the National Institute of Health. Go to PubMed. You can look up all these studies. Okay, so you can look these up. Now, short term, if you drank a something today. Let's just say a fruit drink, because we're going to keep everything without naming brand names today, because I really would love to go after people and brand names, but I don't think that my platforms would be happy with me if I did that. So let's just say it's a fruit drink and it's got sucralose in it. If I drink it today, I'm not going to die today, okay? Nothing's going to happen today, okay? But a lot of your studies will say long-term, fed to the mouse, fed to the research animals that we use, and this is what we do. However, Kathleen, hey Kathleen, so long-term for Kathleen versus me is two different time things. Why? Because Kathleen has a different immune system than I do. So, an example, we could both do sucralose for 2 years. And maybe Kathleen has nothing happening and she's just doing good and doing sucralose. But at the end of 2 years, I have inflammatory gut, IBS, and all these health problems going on. And I'll share some more health problems with a study later. So it really also depends. So while I say that, I'm cautious enough to say to you, make sure you do your homework. And that means you've got to do more than just listen to a TikTok. Or a Facebook. Do your own homework. Go look at PubMed. Go look at the research on this, okay? Xylitol, or some of your sugar alcohol ones. Sugar alcohol will actually, it has more of a tendency to cause gas, flatulence, and bloat, and things like that. It can cause diarrhea. But studies have linked it to heart attacks, and large amounts of it will actually cause oxalate calcium to build up, and that could, I'm not saying it does 100%, I'm just saying it could lead to a kidney stone or something like that. And you have other sugar alcohols such as sorbitol, maltitol. Those normally, again, cause flatulence and bloat in a lot of people. And that science is there. So you can look up that in PubMed, the National Institute of Health, any of those types of journals. The Consumer Reports has it, I think. But one of the things that you should also know about xylitol is that it's absolutely extremely toxic to dogs. Okay, so if you have a product in your house like peanut butter, because they were making peanut butter with xylitol, you need to be well aware of that, because we don't have a cure for this. So, and just a tiny bit is highly toxic to your dog, because it causes them to go to a hypoglycemic. It causes their blood sugar to absolutely plummet, and then it causes liver damage, but it also causes seizures. And while it may not happen in the very first 15 minutes, I've seen dogs die within an hour after having xylitol, and I've seen dogs die 2 days later. All right, so please understand that xylitol is extremely toxic to puppies. So that's not something I ever have in my house, because I have 2 Labradors, okay? So I try never to have that one around. But that one shows, again, because it's a sugar alcohol one, that you get a lot of gas and bloat with that one. So you have to be careful how much gum are you chewing, and how much of that stuff that you're taking. Okay, the other big one and everybody knows this already, I think, because this one's been out in the public and on the news for quite a while, is that aspartame is definitely not a great one, because it too causes a lot of problems. Now I wanted to point out, so there's actually 3 artificial sweeteners that are the top worst ones, okay? And it's the aspartame, which is like that NutraSweet, I believe, sucralose, and saccharin are the 3 worst artificial sweeteners that we have on the market. And again, look at your studies. You can go to PubMed, you can go to the National Institute of Health, you can go to Consumer Reports, you can go to WebMD, and you want 3 sources, folks, okay? You want 3 sources. And I know that most of us have gotten all excited because we think that, oh, wow, if we have these, it's really, really good. But one of the things I want to point out, there's another thing I want to point out about this, is that there's a study out that people who have come off of these sweeteners, especially the big 3, especially the aspartame, the sucralose, and saccharin, they have had, I believe this study was 2017, but you can look this up. And again, you want to go to National Institute of Health, PubMed, okay? So this study showed that people had great improvement with migraines, depression, IBS, weight gain, and more. Some of your nutritionists think, this is an opinion, not me, some of your nutritionists think that people, because of the sweetness of artificial sweeteners, they become more addicted. And I don't know about that, because to me, sugar is sugar and the sweetness of taste is sweet, and we all have that lovely taste buds on our tongue, right? So although I have to say, I love my chocolate. So I don't know about that one, but I'm just pointing out what the study says on that, okay? Now, a couple of things that I'll point out that are good. Monk fruit is actually a good sweetener to use. It's a fruit that I believe comes from China. Don't quote me on that, I didn't write that down. But I'm pretty sure it's a fruit that's over there in the Asian world. And it's anti-inflammatory, it doesn't affect your blood sugar, it has antioxidants, and it's 300 to 400 times more sweeter than sucrose, which is your table sugar, okay? All right, stevia is it's an herb, it's a leaf, okay? It's very natural. It too is safe for people with diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure, according to the studies. I'm reading you what I got from your science. I did 7 scientific studies, guys, okay? But the one thing that I'm going to point out as an herbalist, as with any kind of herbs or anything, you can still have people who have a reaction to stevia, just like there are people who have a reaction to different foods. You can have that happen with stevia, with monk fruit, with any of them. So you should test them and be a little bit cautious with that. All right. Let's see if I have, some other ones. Raw honey is very good, especially because the raw honey helps with those, raw honey will help you with allergies. That's what I'm trying to say. So the pollen, all that stuff will help you with allergies, okay? You can do real maple syrup. Again, stevia is considered natural. You can do stevia. Some people add vanilla and cinnamon to theirs. But I just wanted to give a quick talk to talk about what the studies show for artificial sweeteners, because that was a question that I got, and talk about it. Now, again, everybody's body is different. We don't know what long-term is. FDA has approved all artificial sweeteners, short-term or moderation, I guess they call it. But moderate for me and moderate for you are going to be two different things. So just realize that you got to know your body, right? It's how your body works. So if you're having any kind of gut issues, if you're having any kind of flatulence or gas, if you're having any kind of bloat or things like that, I would look at some of the things that you're eating to see what foods are causing that. Like for me, for example, I know that I have a reaction to whey. I have to be careful with my whey protein powders. And I don't do a lot of milk, and I'll like my cottage cheese and that sort of stuff. My yogurt is typically going to be, the low fat, the 1 to 2%, something like that. That doesn't affect me just like the whole thing does. But if I do whole milk, whole whey, any of that stuff, then I have that. So you got to know your body, right? Because we're all different. And I don't have lactose intolerance. I just happen to have a little bit of reaction to the bloat and stuff like that. So those are some tips on your sweeteners. Those are what the studies show. So again, you can go to PubMed, you can go to the National Institute of Health, you can go to the Food and Drug Administration site, you can go to the Consumer Reports, you can do your own research, okay? So, but I would highly, highly recommend that because, no, we're not going to install that right now, but I would highly recommend doing your own research and look at it, folks, and don't just throw out the report. Look at it, because there's more than one report on these. So please, please, please do your homework. And so again, I'm here to teach you how the body works and look at being as holistic and healthy as possible. So with that, I hope you all have a great night. Mm,